you. So I always talk about the fact that I used this song as a way to kind of push through into my sobriety. And you can go to groups and stuff, and people will tell you a million different ways to get sober, right? A million different avenues to cleaning your life up and getting rid of those things that are hindering you from being your best version of yourself, getting in the way of you achieving goals. And I would say just getting in the way of you shining. Like I was saying earlier, with depression dimming my light like that, I knew something was wrong for the longest. I know myself. And I think that's super important. You have to know yourself from day to day. I can't say that enough. Know your mood. Check your attitude. When you get up in the morning, I always say start with gratitude. Start with thankfulness and just kind of starting that positive mindset from the jump, because a lot of times we'll wake up, right? You open my eyes before you even get out the bed, you thought about 12 different things, that are gonna get on your nerves today, or stressful, or I gotta do this, and we start agonizing, And what I've learned to do over the years, as I've been walking through this 8-year sobriety journey, I keep saying 8 years because I'm gearing up for February. I'll say 7.75 years. But yeah, I'm just so excited about where I am. After 8 years, I'm able to say, like, I've got some great coping skills. Like, even yesterday, I posted a video last night, you guys. I never get on here on Saturday nights, but I posted a quick little 5-minute video sharing where I was in that moment after my long day yesterday and being disappointed about something. The old Dana would have been out partying, drinking, just drinking my problems away, But I really pushed through. I allowed myself to cry about it. I allowed myself to vent and, talk to God and ask a few questions about, my purpose and everything. But that's a part of the process, And that's the part of being stretched. I was talking to my uncle this morning and my brother. I talked to my brother and my uncle this morning. I'm so blessed to have people in my life who really are there, just like anchors, But my uncle and I were talking about the importance of, like, really knowing your circle and having a group of people around you who really, really know you, right? You and I know this is really hard for some people because some of us are so private and we're introverted and we don't want people in our business. Somebody actually said that on the live, I think last week. And it's not about people being in your business, but I think it's a safety net. If you can create an environment or a circle around you where it's healthy and everybody's moving in a positive direction. And like I said, I know that's hard sometimes, but you have to be intentional about the people you keep around you. I always say iron sharpens iron. You want people that are making you want to be a better person, right? Whether it's in your relationship with your kids, your coworkers, you've got to be intentional about making sure you're working towards being a better version of yourself. So with that being said, in terms of like addictions and mental health issues, you have to be in tune, every morning. Like I said, wake up with gratitude and thankfulness, but also, check how you're feeling, mentally, physically. I know we'll talk about my head hurt, my feet hurt, this hurt, but mentally, where are you? Are you hanging on by a thread? We got to be real about it. And I feel like if you start doing that and you're paying attention every single day, man, as soon as something is off, you're going to be alerted to it. It's like, wait a minute. And then you start doing that self-check. I always talk about self-inventory, doing that introspection, introspection, looking inward. It's so easy for us to look at other people and, point out what they're doing wrong or what they need to work on. And my son and I, we laugh about this all the time. We both are creative minds, right? I told you guys my son wrote a book at 17. He's 22 now, Taz. And we go at it sometimes. We talk every morning. We have our little coffee together and stuff. And I'm just loving on that because he'll be leaving probably in the next, I don't know, few months, 6 months. I don't know. God's going to bless him. We're praying for that. The writer's strike and all that is causing all this stuff to be on delay. But he's had a couple of things he's worked on. But it's funny to watch how we both interact. He'll encourage the heck out of me. Like, he'll go hard and be like, well, why did you do this? And I'll be like, whoa. Because then I'm looking at him and I'm like, wait a minute, like, how many scripts did you write last week? Like, and so it's amazing how we're able to look at other people and be like, wait, we'll hold them accountable before we hold ourselves accountable, But I do believe it's important to have accountability partners. However, I think we should be our biggest accountability partner, right? You should be your biggest cheerleader too. But that leads me to talking about that voice. I always talk about that conscious, subconscious, making sure you're feeding yourself positivity, because once it's time for that stuff to kick into gear, you want that to be positive, And I think that last night in my message, I talked about shifting your mindset. It's so important that you practice how to shift your mindset. So if you're dealing with an addiction, whether it's shopping, food, porn, gambling, alcohol, drugs, what else is there? So many different things that we can be addicted to. But if you're addicted to something and it's interfering with your life, you have to make a decision that if you're going to say I'm tackling this thing, habits and behavior have to change. Point blank, period. You know, and if you don't do that, if you're not willing to shift and shift and shift throughout the day, you're not going to make it, you know, and that's just the hard truth. I mean, you have to work on that mindset, you know, and being strong enough to say, I gotta push through this, you know, because I say it every live, I say it every time I get a chance. Addictions, any addiction at all, it's not like a light switch. You cannot just, you know, and if you can say, okay, I'm not gonna drink tomorrow, you're not addicted, you know, that don't even use that word. But I'm talking about hardcore, cannot stop, no matter how many times you've tried. You got to be real about that thing. And if you're going to get help, you know, and when you're going to commit and lock in, it's all about discipline. It's all about your behavior changing, right? So last night was the perfect example of that, because I shared how in that moment of me being upset and everything, I felt like God just kind of shook me up. Like, girl, look at you. Like I was warming up some tea. My stress relief tea. And it was so good, by the way, the yogi. But that was my first time trying the yogi. But yeah, so... Sorry, y'all, I saw something wrong with my little headband. But yeah, so I was sharing, though, how in that moment it really jolted me. Like, oh my gosh, girl, like, you're making tea. You're about to relax and go to bed. Versus in the past, man, I would have been up till 3 in the morning drinking on my patio, you know, just drowning in my misery, you know, and that's what I used to do. It was a horrible cycle because it was these horrible habits that I had built. And a lot of times when we're doing things, guys, when we're, you know, kind of in the midst of it, we don't notice it, right? So if you just take a minute to think about your own behavior, what are some things, and it doesn't have to do alcohol or drugs. There, like I said, shopping, food, porn, gambling. Like I said, if there's certain things you know you've been kind of overindulging, just ask yourself, like, do I need to take a break from this? You know, is it causing me harm? You know, am I neglecting my bills so that I can go gamble? You get what I'm saying? Like, if you're starting to be honest with yourself, because that's the first step, right? Admitting that something's off. I just encourage you to do that. Like I said, that self-inventory, that introspection, looking within. Like I said, it's so easy for us to look at other people, right? Even now y'all just looking at me. I'm sure some people probably done nitpicked everything, and that's okay. But it's so easy for us to say, oh, you need to fix that. Or, oh, if I were you, I would do that. But what about ourselves? You know, for me, that's like a constant conversation. You know, constantly checking myself, you know, constantly saying, Dana, how can you improve? Like this week, I was just talking to my uncle about my abs. I'm like, you know, I'm kind of doing great with my activity level, blah, blah. And I was like, I haven't targeted my abs in years. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I don't know about y'all. Have y'all targeted your abs? So I was laughing, though. I'm 45. There's no reason to not get a six-pack by 50, right? But it's just fun now, like, to challenge myself to do things that I normally wouldn't do, or I don't have the energy or the motivation. But now, like, the more I'm doing more and more new things, the more and more I'm seeing the progress, I love the way I feel. And that's, to me, the most important thing. Because yesterday, in that moment, like I said in my video, I could have went down the rabbit hole. You know, I could have easily gotten depressed, and that's my biggest fear, because I have a history of depression as well. So it's like I have to be super careful, you know, and I'm always right here, always paying attention to what's going on, and I'm always connected. I always say this, you got to be in alignment and connected to God or your higher power, whoever you believe in. I believe in God, but I believe that we all have a purpose for being here. We're all on some sort of mission, even though some of us may know it, some of us may not. But I think when addictions and mental health come into the picture, it's a rocky road, you know. So a lot of times when we're facing issues, like I said, all these people I met yesterday, I was overwhelmed at the end with like how many painful stories I heard. And it's like, it was just, like I said, 63 people in my room, and about 40 people spoke on that issue or some sort of issue with like, oh my God, like this agonizing pain. But it further let me know I'm in the right spaces. You know, we need to talk about this stuff. It's long overdue. Later for Hiding Behind the Mask, which, you know, I'm going to plug my first book here, Reflections, Moments Behind Closed Doors, my first book. I wrote it in 2016, and it was right when I got sober. I had been writing it for a few years, but right when I got sober, 3 months later, I completed it. It had been lingering and lingering. Like, I couldn't complete a task, y'all. When I talk about how alcohol, like, had me all hemmed up, I don't mean to laugh about